Socializing is an important aspect of our life. One way to maintain and form relationships are digital games. But for some players, socializing can be a tough and stressful activity, because they fear any negative consequences of social interactions and try to withdraw and avoid them completely. But previous researchers showed that social anxious players prefer to play massively multiplayer online role-playing games, which are tailored around the social aspect of digital gaming. Does this mean that social anxiety affects the motivation, the activities, and the experiences in MMORPGs? Hi, my name is Martin Dechant and I'm a PhD student at the University of Saskatchewan. In this video, I will present our work where we explored whether and how social anxiety translate into the MMORPG. The results of the present study show that the fear outside and inside of the game are related. They differently affect the preferences, behavior, and experiences. Social anxiety in the physical world drives reasons for playing the game. But social anxiety in-game affects the behavior, resulting in a reduction of participation in socializing as well as in difficult in-game challenges. Forming and maintaining relationships, as well as the feeling of belonging, are fundamental needs. Even under the most adverse circumstances, people still try to form social connections, even when they may be potentially harmful for them. These desires are increasingly fulfilled by digital games. However, there are arguments about whether the usage of games is desirable or harmful. On one side, previous work based on social displacement theories shows that in-game relationships may provide weaker social support and that they displace physical world ties. However, when measures of well-being are considered, in-game social interactions are positively associated with a player's sense of self-esteem, perception of social competence, reduction in loneliness, and increased relatedness. One factor when investigating these concerns is that the line between game world and physical world friendship is blurred. Many players use online games to maintain pre-existing relationships. However, for some individuals, fulfilling this need can be frightening or anxiety-inducing up to a level where they experience social anxiety. This anxiety is characterized by a personal fear of situations in which they are exposed to unfamiliar people or to possible scrutiny and negative evaluation by others. Social anxiety is most accurately expressed along a severity continuum where one can experience a high degree of social anxiety, but they do not reach the threshold for a clinical diagnosis. Previous studies show that social anxiety leads to greater difficulties forming relationships and connecting with others. This affects and reduces the overall quality of life drastically. It may lead to more severe mental problems, including unhealthy coping strategies like substance abuse and problematic game behavior. Indeed, several researchers showed that gamers measuring high in problematic internet use due to MMORPG gaming were more likely to experience higher levels of social anxiety. Overall, previous research confirms a strong link between social anxiety, game genre preferences, and problematic game usage. However, explanations are still missing for why socially anxious players enjoy and even perhaps prefer MMORPGs. To better understand the link between these entities, we conducted an online survey with MMORPG players. Since we were only interested in MMORPG players, we first deployed a screening task. In this task, we asked participants about the game genres they play. Participants who indicated that they play MMORPGs were then redirected to a second task. We recruited 74 female and 107 male MMORPG players via Amazon Mechanical MTurk for this online survey, aged between 19 and 66. After bots and invalid participants exclusion, we had 174 participants left for our data analysis. In our data recording, we assessed the social anxiety, the in-game social anxiety, the reasons for MMORPG playing, the activities inside of the game, MMORPG enjoyment, and relative threats. To assess social anxiety, we used the self-assessment version of the Leibowitz Social Anxiety Scale. This questionnaire consists of 11 items related to social interactions and 13 linked to public performance. Each item is rated on two 4-point Likert scales to assess the fear of a situation as well as the avoidance. To understand how social anxiety translates into the game world, we created a new scale of in-game social anxiety, based on the Leibowitz scale. We reviewed the 24 items and classified them into 3 categories. Category 1 contained elements which could be used without any adjustments. Category 2 contained elements which required recontextualization into the in-game world. Category 3 contained items which were not applicable for the digital realm due to their focus on being physical near to others. We replaced them with new items unrelated to the original item. Like in the original Leibowitz questionnaire, participants were asked to rate the fear and avoidance of 11 social interactions and 13 performance-related situations in the MMORPG. Therefore, they used two 4-point Likert scales. To assess the reasons for playing an MMORPG, 4 games user research experts created 30 items which were grouped into 7 categories. Participants were asked to rate on a 5-point Likert scale how often they have thoughts similar or equal to the presented item while playing the MMORPG, ranging from never to all the time. For the assessment of activities, the same 4 experts created 37 items to reflect typical in-game activities. Participants were instructed to rate how likely they would be to engage in these activities while playing an MMORPG. Therefore, they used a 5-point Likert scale ranging from very unlikely to very likely. To evaluate personal enjoyment of playing MMORPGs, we ask our participants to rate their enjoyment on a 5-point Likert scale, where 1 means not at all and 5 very much. We asked participants to rate their relative anxiety in 8 specific social interactions between the physical world and the game world on a 50-point slider, ranging from physical world to digital world. We instructed participants to set the slider to the middle if they were equally anxious or non-anxious about both contexts. Our measurements show that MMORPG players express different levels of social anxiety as well as in-game social anxiety. The significant Pearson correlation between in-game and physical social anxiety suggests that the experience of social anxiety in-game is significantly and positively associated with social anxiety out-of-game. A paired sample t-test confirms that the participants scored out-of-game anxiety higher than in-game. Next, we want to discuss the reasons for playing MMORPGs. Therefore, we conducted moderated regressions for each of the reason subscales by out-of-game social anxiety and moderated by in-game social anxiety. Our analysis revealed that real-world social anxiety significantly predicts the agreement with the subscales of better world, feeling of safety, social access, and self-worth. The level of physical social anxiety predicts the level of agreement to these categories. This suggests that people with high level of social anxiety are more likely to report that the in-game world feels less broken, feels more secure to engage in social interactions in the game world, which elicits a stronger feeling of competence. On the other side, we see that higher values of in-game social anxiety lead to a lower agreement to social access and transition statements. These results suggest that players with higher level of in-game social anxiety are less likely to report that they find it easier to connect with other players in the game world or take online friendships to the physical world. Furthermore, we see that in-game social anxiety moderates the prediction of physical social anxiety reasons to play MMORPGs. As self-reported in-game social anxiety increases, it reduces and then nullifies the prediction of physical social anxiety on the scales of better world and self-worth. In the next step, we focus on the effects of in-game and out-of-game social anxiety on the engagement into different activities. Therefore, we conducted moderated regression for each of the activity subscales by out-of-the-game social anxiety, moderated by in-game social anxiety. We found that in-game social anxiety significantly and negatively predicts social and high challenges activities. This result suggests that when social anxiety translates into the in-game anxiety, these players become less likely to engage in challenging in-game activities, as well as withdraw from social activities. Lastly, we analyzed whether any social anxiety predicts how threatening events in the game world are as compared to the physical world. We conducted moderated regression predicting relative threatening assessments by out-of-game anxiety and moderated by in-game social anxiety. We found that out-of-game social anxiety predicts the agreement that all the events we ask about are less threatening in the game world than in the physical world. On the other side, in-game social anxiety predicts greater agreement that some of the events that we ask about are less threatening in the physical world than in the game world. However, we found no significant moderation between in and out of the game social anxiety. As we've seen in our results, social anxiety can carry from the physical world to the in-game world. Socially anxious players show similar patterns in-game as in the physical world, such as being more likely to avoid challenging activities as well as the evaluation of others. It is not surprising, because MMO environments can be very social and stable, therefore their reputation can matter. But there are players who experience social anxiety out of the game, but not at the same extent in-game. This discrepancy may be due to the unique features of the MMORPGs. Here, the game expands beyond challenging activities and gives players options that are not associated with performance pressure. Furthermore, while previous research states that socially anxious players regard the in-game world to be a safe place, this is only true in part. Players with high in-game social anxiety are less likely to socialize and engage in challenging activities. However, even though they may avoid these activities, they still enjoy the game. It might be that they experience anxiety to some extent within the game, but is still less threatening to them than how they would experience the physical world. With our work, we can help game designers to create a more accessible game experience for socially anxious players. As shown, players with social anxiety experience the game differently. Furthermore, these results help to better understand the link between social anxiety, MMORPGs, and the problematic game usage. Our findings show that for some players who are at the risk of problematic game usage, there may be something other than in-game socializing that contributes to the appeal of MMORPGs. These findings will help inform when games can be used to increase well-being of players suffering from social anxiety and when play may be harmful. A third application of our results is the context of mental health. Researchers and clinicians have begun to explore the benefits of new technologies, such as immersive media and special game mechanics, to supplement treatments for social anxiety. The characteristic features of MMORPGs, such as the built-in social interactions, reward features, and never-ending nature, could become a helpful tool to improve exposure therapies for social anxiety. To summarize our work, we observed that players with physical world social anxiety were more likely to experience game world social anxiety. However, there are players for whom social anxiety is high, but in-game social anxiety is low. We find that players with social anxiety find that it is easier to connect with others in-game, perceive the game world as less broken, and are likely to feel more socially competent in MMORPGs than in the physical world. We further find that social anxiety does not predict player preferences for different activities, but that those with gaming social anxiety are more likely to avoid challenging content and social activities. Overall, players find events in the physical world to be more threatening than the same events in the digital world.